What if I told you that God keeps a detailed inventory of everything the enemy has stolen from you? Every opportunity, every relationship, every dream that died. And right now, today, He is preparing to release a supernatural recovery that will make you forget you ever lost anything in the first place. Stop scrolling. This isn't another empty religious promise. In the next 8 minutes, I'm going to show you exactly how God restores what was stolen, why your losses were actually setting you up for multiplication, and the 3 biblical signs that your complete restoration has already begun. Here's what religion won't tell you. Your losses weren't random. They weren't punishment. They were the enemy's desperate attempt to stop what God is about to do through you. But he made one fatal mistake. He touched what belongs to God. Marcus from Texas messaged our channel last week. 3 years ago, he lost his business. His marriage was hanging by a thread, and his teenage son wouldn't even speak to him. He'd been a faithful believer for 20 years. Where was God? Why did serving Him faithfully lead to losing everything? But Marcus discovered something in Joel 2:25 that changed everything. God doesn't just restore what was lost. He says, "I will restore to you the years that the locust has eaten." Not just the stuff, the time, the memories, the opportunities, the compound effect of everything that should have been building during those wilderness years. Think about that. When God restores, He doesn't just give you back what you had. He gives you what you would have had if the attack never happened. It's restoration with interest. It's divine compensation that includes lost time. You know what happened to Marcus? In 18 months, not only did his business come back, it came back 3 times larger. His marriage, stronger than their honeymoon phase. His son, now serves beside him in ministry. But here's the supernatural part. Opportunities that should have taken years to develop suddenly appeared fully formed. Connections that normally required decades of networking manifested overnight. It was as if God compressed time itself. The book of Joel was written after the worst devastation Israel had ever seen. Locusts had destroyed everything, not some things. Everything, the fields, the trees, the vines, total economic collapse. Sound familiar? Maybe you're watching this and thinking, that's my life, total devastation. But God gave Joel a promise that defies natural law, complete restoration that includes the multiplication of lost time. And I'm going to prove to you that this promise wasn't just for Israel. It's for you, right now, today. The first sign your restoration has begun is supernatural acceleration. Things that should take years start happening in weeks. Doors that were welded shut suddenly swing wide open, and everyone around you starts using the same phrase. How is this happening so fast? Here's what's actually happening. God is restoring the years the locusts ate by compressing time. What the enemy stretched out in destruction, God compressed in restoration. It's divine physics. Time itself bends to God's restoration promise. In Amos 9:13, God describes restoration like this: "The plowman shall overtake the reaper." That's agricultural impossibility. The plowman prepares ground for planting. The reaper harvests mature crops. They're separated by an entire growing season. But in God's restoration, they happen simultaneously. You're still planting in one area while already harvesting in another. Sarah from Michigan experienced this exact phenomenon. 7 years of infertility. 7 years of negative tests, failed treatments, crushed hope. The doctors said her eggs were too damaged, her husband's count too low, medical impossibility. But when God's restoration kicked in, not only did she conceive naturally, she conceived twins. And here's the supernatural part. Her body showed signs of reversing years of damage in just 3 months. Her doctor, an atheist, used these exact words: "I can't explain this medically. Your reproductive system looks 10 years younger than 3 months ago." But wait, it gets more supernatural. During her pregnancy, every other area of her life accelerated. Her husband's carpentry business, struggling for those same 7 years, suddenly had contracts lined up for 3 years. Their marriage, strained by infertility, became a testimony that saved 3 other couples from divorce. The twins? Born perfectly healthy, and Sarah's now pregnant again naturally. This is acceleration. This is time compression. This is God restoring the years, plural, that the locusts ate. Look at Joseph. 13 years of slavery and prison. 13 years. But watch the acceleration. In a single day, he goes from prisoner to prime minister. One day. All those years of preparation compressed into 24 hours of elevation. The restoration included governing abilities that should have taken decades to develop. Economic wisdom that typically requires lifetimes of experience. It was all downloaded instantly. You might be thinking, but I've been waiting so long already. That's exactly the point. The longer the wait, the more dramatic the compression. God isn't just giving you back those years. He's multiplying their value. Every year of lack becomes seed for multiplication. Every season of waiting becomes fuel for acceleration. If you're seeing things suddenly speed up, relationships healing faster than makes sense, opportunities appearing in supernatural timing, breakthrough in multiple areas simultaneously, this is your first sign. God has begun the restoration sequence. The second sign is unmistakable. Areas of your life you'd written off as permanently dead suddenly show signs of resurrection. And not one at a time, but multiple areas simultaneously. It's like someone hit a divine reset button on your entire existence. This isn't coincidence, it's pattern. When God restores the years the locusts ate, He doesn't do it piecemeal. He floods every devastated area with resurrection power simultaneously. Why? Because the locusts didn't attack one area, they devastated everything. So God's restoration touches everything. Job experienced this pattern. Lost all 10 children, all wealth, all health, total systematic destruction. But watch Job 42:10. The Lord restored Job's losses when he prayed for his friends. Indeed, the Lord gave Job twice as much as he had before. Not gradually, not over decades. The Hebrew word used here implies sudden, complete reversal. Michelle from Canada lived this reality. 4 years ago, she was diagnosed with an autoimmune condition that forced her to leave her teaching career. Same year, her mother died. Her husband's construction company went bankrupt. Her daughter struggled with severe depression. 4 major devastations, like 4 different species of locusts devouring her life. She told me, "Gabriel, I stopped praying for breakthrough. I was just trying to survive each day. But 6 months ago, something shifted. Without explanation, her autoimmune markers started normalizing. Not gradually. Her doctor used the word inexplicably. Same week, her husband got a call about a construction project that would restore their finances completely. Their daughter, without any trigger, suddenly wanted to try therapy again and responded immediately to treatment. Michelle said something profound. It felt like God was running through my life, turning lights back on in rooms I'd forgotten existed. Here's the biblical pattern nobody talks about. When restoration comes, it creates what I call divine simultaneity. Look at Genesis 41, when Pharaoh finally promoted Joseph. In that same moment, a wife appeared. Children came, wealth materialized, and wisdom downloaded. Not spread over years. Simultaneous restoration. The enemy's strategy is always the same. Attack multiple areas to overwhelm your faith. Make you feel like you're fighting on too many fronts. But God's restoration strategy is more powerful. Restore all fronts simultaneously to overwhelm you with His goodness. If you're suddenly seeing movement in relationships that were dead for years, while also seeing financial breakthrough, while also experiencing physical healing, while also receiving spiritual revelation, this isn't random. This is the suddenly of God moving on all fronts. The book of Haggai describes it perfectly. From this day forward, I will bless you. Not, I will start blessing you gradually. From this day, like flipping a switch from curse to blessing, from famine to feast, from death to life. The third sign will shock you. People who left during your devastation suddenly reappear, but they're completely transformed. They return carrying exactly what you need for your next season. This isn't coincidence, it's divine orchestration. When God restores the years the locusts ate, He doesn't just restore things, He restores relationships. But here's the supernatural twist. These people don't return the same. They return upgraded, matured, and positioned to bless you in ways they couldn't before. Look at Naomi in the book of Ruth. She lost her husband, both sons, her wealth. Total devastation. She even changed her name to Mara, meaning bitter. But when restoration came, Ruth, her foreign daughter-in-law, who could have abandoned her, not only stayed, but became the key to her complete restoration. Through Ruth came Boaz, provision, and eventually the lineage of David and Jesus himself. The person Naomi thought was just a grieving widow beside her was actually carrying her entire restoration. David from Arizona experienced this exact pattern. His business partner betrayed him, took their clients, and left him bankrupt. His brother, who worked with them, sided with the partner. His mentor, disappointed by the business failure, distanced himself. 3 critical relationships, gone. For 2 years, David rebuilt alone. Bitter, broken, but slowly faithful. Then, within 1 month, all 3 returned. The business partner, now born again after his own devastating failure, came back with not just an apology, but a $1 million contract he couldn't fulfill alone. He needed David. The brother returned, having developed skills in those 2 years that perfectly complemented what David now needed, the mentor. He'd been preparing an opportunity specifically for David, but wanted him to grow through the wilderness first. David told me, it was like God sent them away to prepare them for my restoration. This is the pattern. God allows people to leave your life during devastation not to punish you, but to prepare them. They return carrying resources, connections, wisdom, and opportunities they didn't have before. Your restoration becomes their restoration. Your breakthrough becomes their breakthrough. Jesus experienced this with his disciples. They all abandoned him at the cross, every single one. But after resurrection, they returned transformed, no longer fearful followers, but world-changing apostles. The restoration included upgrading the very people who had failed him. Maybe you're thinking about specific people who left during your darkest season. That spouse who couldn't handle the pressure. That friend who disappeared when things got hard. That family member who judged instead of helped. Here's what God is saying. They're being prepared for return. And when they come back, they'll carry part of your restoration package. If people from your past are suddenly reaching out, returning with apologies, or reappearing with opportunities, this is your 3rd sign. The restoration has begun, and God is reassembling your tribe for the next season. Here's what you need to understand. These 3 signs aren't sequential. They're often simultaneous. When God moves to restore the years the locusts ate, He moves comprehensively. You might wake up tomorrow experiencing all 3 at once, but here's the activation key nobody talks about. You have to position yourself for restoration, not just wait for it. First, stop rehearsing your losses. Every time you retell the story of what was stolen, you're agreeing with the locusts instead of God's promise. From today, start declaring Joel 2:25 over your life. God is restoring the years the locusts have eaten. Say it until you believe it. Say it until heaven hears it. Say it until hell trembles. Second, prepare practically for sudden increase. Joseph knew the feast was coming during the famine, so he prepared storehouses. Clean out your life, physically, emotionally, spiritually. Make room for what's coming. That might mean forgiving someone today. Might mean organizing your finances. Might mean finally having that conversation. When restoration comes suddenly, you need to be ready to receive it. Third, and this is crucial, start thanking God for the restoration before you see it, not after, before. This isn't positive thinking, it's biblical faith. In Mark 11:24, Jesus says, "Whatever you ask for in prayer, believe that you have received it, and it will be yours." Past tense faith for future tense breakthrough. Marcus, from our opening story, he did all three. He stopped talking about bankruptcy and started declaring restoration. He prepared his business structure for triple the capacity while he had 0 clients. He thanked God every morning for restoration he couldn't see. 18 months later, everything I told you happened. But here's what Marcus told me that will shock you. The restoration wasn't the biggest miracle. The biggest miracle was who I became while positioning myself for it. God didn't just restore what I lost. He restored who I was meant to be. Listen carefully. Your restoration is not coming. It has already begun. These signs are just confirmation of what heaven has already released. The moment you started watching this video, something shifted in the spiritual realm. The locusts have been commanded to release what they've consumed. In our last video about being 48 hours from breakthrough, I showed you the 3 signs it's coming. If you haven't watched that yet, click that video on your screen now, because it connects directly to today's restoration promise. That video shows you how to recognize breakthrough. This one shows you what happens after breakthrough begins. Complete restoration. The same God who restored Job with double, who gave Joseph the years of plenty, who brought Israel back from exile, is actively working on your restoration right now. Not tomorrow, not someday. Now. Your losses were never meant to be permanent. They were setups for a testimony that will shock everyone who counted you out. With faith and restoration, Gabriel Elias, Pax Animae.